Hey guys, what's up? It's Simba here. Thank you so much for joining me on the Vision Board podcast. Hey guys, welcome to the Vision Board podcast. This guest does not need any introduction. Um, I want to say that when I started this whole podcast thing, I went to this gentleman for advice, and still to this day, he still provides value, and he's still killing it. He has a new film out. Let me not talk about it. Let me just bring him on here. Alex, welcome to the Vision Board podcast. How are you doing?
My man, thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Yeah, for sure. So, you're the reason I started podcasting, man. Um, Thank you for inspiring me. And what you been up to? I guess that's my question. I want to start off with.
Man, first of all, I'm humbled. When starting the podcast, I think that was my initial goal was to just inspire others to
Mhm.
kind of lean into themselves and try to figure out, what they wanted and how they could do it. And I hoped that by trying to figure it out on my own and documenting it as I was doing it, that other people would feel comfortable doing that too. So, I'm incredibly humbled and I'm glad to see that you're doing your own thing too.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you were on Marlo's podcast, and I want to say that was really informative. I got to know about your business, the family business, and what your previous business, and you do a lot. You got a film, Coaching While Black. How did that start? And can you just like let people know like what the film is about as well?
Honestly, everything for me goes back to my podcast. If I didn't start my podcast, I don't come into contact with Don Phillips, the gentleman who we documented in the film.
Hmm.
Um, so, starting the podcast was kind of the breeding ground for all the other ideas. I started out like in modeling and stuff like that.
Okay.
And we know it's a shallow industry and I was trying to break into, film and television. And so that was the only way I figured that I could put my thought out there, and also get to know other people and other people's experiences, journeys, and things of that nature. And one thing kind of led to another, led to the Collective for Black Iranians, led to Coaching All Black. And
Hmm.
so now I'm trying to go full time with this filmmaking thing. I feel like I have something to say, and I'd like to find an artistic medium to do it, and I think film is the best way to do that.
Exactly. So, guys, his podcast name is Gifted Gab. His co-host is Andre Kelly, and yeah, y'all check out Gifted Gab. Also, he has a clothing brand under the podcast. I mean, the podcast is really the whole, um, the stem, and is the real foundation to your story and your upcoming and just who you are. I mean, which guess what? I guess the first question I want to say is your biggest aha moment in your podcast. What would you say that is, Alex?
Biggest aha moment?
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest aha moment for me was just sticking with the podcast. I figured I think after like I think it was after I think I have 6 or 7 episodes in, I started seeing kind of the how powerful podcasting was
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the opportunities it was bringing because it was exposing me to new people. It was exposing me to new networks. It was exposing other people to me. And so a lot of the connections that, I've been able to create through the podcast have been so fruitful in so many new ways. And the biggest aha moment for me was just in the middle of the podcast. I'm like, yo, I gotta keep doing this. I gotta figure out how to keep doing it. I gotta figure out how to stay sharp, how to improve the craft. And when me and Andre started it, me and Andre didn't really have our own paths.
Yeah.
We were just like, let's create this brand let's create this podcast and just, inspire other people through other people's stories. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully in that
Exactly.
process, we would find our own. And then since then, Andre has, he went into acting and now he's a full-time
Hmm.
actor. He just finished his program at Humber College and he's busy
Nice.
acting, and so for me, I found a path in like filmmaking and producing. And so podcasting is producing,
Yeah.
so I kind of already had an idea of how what goes into a production. And so when it was time to do a film,
Hmm.
a documentary film at that, I felt
Hmm.
prepared. I felt like, okay, this is challenging, but I could do it. And it's opened up other doors for me now. So I'm trying to figure out ways to just keep the ball rolling. And the gifted gab for me and Andre, like we're still doing it, but we're in a process of reimagining what that looks like and rebranding and bringing on more creators and more voices and more stories. So
I love that. I mean, you touched on like, you know, your co-host doing acting and you got your rebranding. I mean, that's so important. Uh, I want to say like, would you think about doing like, would you start doing something like outside of like Canadian talent? Are you guys trying to rebrand into like a different logo? Like, what does that even look like? Because me myself, I have a podcast as well. I'm thinking about doing season two, maybe like, in person, like kind of sort of
mhm.
similar to what you guys are doing, bringing people in a space and inviting them that way. But I don't know what does rebranding look like for you.
But for us, like we wanted to always inspire, right? And it didn't
Exactly.
have to be us inspiring, it was other people's stories, right? And
Exactly.
so, me and Andre sat one day and we're like, how do we keep doing what we do, but removing ourselves as the faces? And that's kind of what the rebrand is about. Because I think when we started, we're like, okay, like we'll be the face of it. We'll do
Mhm.
this day out. And we learned a lot about ourselves through that process. But now we're like, we still want to do the same thing. We still want to
Mhm.
inspire. We still want to do the storytelling. We still want to have conversations, but we want to remove ourselves from that spotlight so that other people
Okay.
can have that opportunity to meet, to create a voice for themselves, right? And so
Okay.
because me and Andre have already done it, and I think we benefited tremendously from it, we
Mhm.
want to repackage it in a new way so that, we're getting to know other creators, we're getting to know other faces, new co-hosts. And me and Andre will still be on the interviewing side, but we want to kind of minimize us on screen and make the platform bigger than me and him, So
Got it. So basically, you guys bringing on hiring and other people like hosting the show, but it's like bigger than you and Andre. It's like a whole community. So that's never thought you could do that. Okay. I want to obviously ask like any advice you'd have for someone trying to do exactly what you're trying to do, the podcast industry, the entertainment, the whole business side of things, and like, what would you advise them to do, Alex? Like, because you're already in it. You know what to do, what not to do. Like, what would you advise these new cats coming into the game? What would you advise them to do?
I think first of all, vision board podcast. A vision
Yes, sir.
board is so crucial. It's been crucial to my success. Just having, your goals on a board in front of you makes it so real. Like if you look at my office, I painted my walls with whiteboard paint so that I could just write on the walls. And
Amazing.
that was something like, when me and Andre started, we would sit, we would brainstorm, and we would just put it on a whiteboard, and then it's like, okay, now you have these goals. I think like whatever it is that you decide to do,
Hmm.
stick with it until you're sick of it, you know? And
Hmm.
I don't mean like I think the magic number for podcasting is seven. Like most podcasts, they don't make it past seven episodes. So if you made it past seven,
Oh,
like
wow.
you're in a different bracket and you just have to keep going. Like me and Andre, we tried so hard to be consistent and it was difficult because we were in the middle of learning how to make a podcast. Like we didn't know how to do it. I think our first 10 episodes, it took us, you know, 50, 60 hours because we just didn't know what we were
Wow.
doing. We didn't know the equipment. We didn't know what we are going to get. We didn't know how to edit, so all these skills, we learned ourselves. And then when we understood what we were doing, because we didn't know
Hmm.
at the beginning, we just had an idea and we just went with it.
Hmm.
When we started to understand what we were doing, then it was like, okay, now we need to streamline this process. And how do you streamline this process? Okay, sometimes you got to bring other people in. Sometimes you got to make a roadmap, actually you should have a roadmap for everything,
Exactly.
but my biggest advice is stick with it until you're sick of it, because I think finding your calling and your purpose is about what you don't want to do, finding out what you don't want to do, right? And
Mm,
so experimenting and being able to do these things um, allows you to figure out what is for you and what's not for you. And that's where me and Andre kind of maximized. It's like we were able to clearly delineate what we wanted to stay involved with, right? Like for me, been on the camera so much that I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of want to step away from being on camera and go behind the camera. But Andre was like, yeah, I like being on camera, And so we
hmm.
developed this really interesting dynamic where, you know, we kind of just found our paths through that. And so I encourage everybody to just, if you see yourself creating content, just do it and then figure it out and streamline it, sooner rather than later.
There you go. That's Alex. Like I want to touch on a few points you mentioned here. You mentioned how a lot of episodes don't make it past seven. So if any of you new podcasters made past seven episode, salute to you. Second thing you mentioned is that it's a collaborative thing. It's not something that you could do, you plan, and that's exactly how y'all did it. And then also I want to lastly mention you're the reason I started this whole podcasting thing. Having a vision board is super important, hence the name Vision Board Podcast.
Love
Um
it. I love it.
and appreciate it. And I guess the new generation is going to be more interesting to see what y'all come up with. So I want to thank you, Alex, for your time. Shout out to your brother. Known him for a while. We went to school together. I went to school with you as well. And then shout out to Andre and the whole cast. And this is my appreciation. Like I want to give you your flowers right now today, and just Alex, here's flowers, bro. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you continue to do great things, big success. And yeah, can we wrap it up with like a special song here? Thank you for getting it done. Is there a tune that I can add to the outro for you, Alex?
Absolutely.
What would it be?
Special song? Oh, I have to
Mhm.
pick?
Yeah. You can pick any song. So this is our famous segment where I ask people like, what song are you
Okay.
feeling? How are you doing?
Man.
Mhm.
Ah, what song? Holy smokes. I think the song I would probably choose, it's probably Victory Lap by Nipsey Hussle.
Victory lap. Oh, classic. All right. Thank you for getting it done, Alex. We're gonna add that song to the outro. And how can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can find me. I'm on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter. It's always a flex on Instagram and TikTok as well. Twitter is Alex EHK. The Gifted Gab, we're in the middle of our rebrand, but it's thegiftedgab.com. And The Gifted Gab across all social media platforms. We're on YouTube.
Mhm.
Coaching While Black will be premiering this fall.
Wow, big
And
up, big up.
I'm trying to get it to premiere in Toronto, so we're waiting to hear back.
I'm there, bro. You make it, you bring it here, I'm there. All right. Thank you, Alex. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for hopping on. You take care.
My
Later.
man, thank you.